Hello.
Scoot over.
Welcome to the Downside pre-episode. We've had two. This is our second in a row without Russell, and I know that bums people out sometimes, but he's a busy boy. You're about to hear an episode with Justin Willman. It's a great episode. Paige Asachika was there. We did this in LA, but I figured, as a little treat, if you can't have Russell, then my beautiful girlfriend Tovah and I. We thought we said hi because we had an experience. We had our third anniversary. This is what I wore to the anniversary, and
now we're not together anymore.
But I finally got my dream, another podcast co-host.
For 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay.
No, not literally 5 minutes. But this makes it sound like we're
What do you think inspired you to? Because you're not easy to get to do this, but I felt like. You were like, yeah, let's do this.
I had something to say.
You had something to say.
This has got to stop.
Okay, yeah, this is a Graham. This has got to stop.
Graham, this has got to stop. This is not even got to stop. This should not have started.
This should not have started. And I'll take full blame. We didn't plan our.
Okay, you can take you can take blame for not planning. Our
we have a lot of things that we plan. It's a very tough life that we both lead.
I think I have a blessing as well.
Okay, good.
Our blessing is that we are privileged enough to do whatever we want whenever we want it. Like, we go to places, we travel, we eat at really nice restaurants, we do experiences. So when the anniversaries come around,
yes,
it's a problem because we are living the life. We are what's it called? DINK, double income, no kids.
I didn't know that.
So we buy the fancy mustard. You know what I mean? We buy bags and bags of kimchi. Because
normally other people, and maybe some of our listeners, when you have an anniversary, you're like, well, it's finally, we're going to get the kimchi today.
Exactly. And we're just like, that's a Monday.
So
it's a big hurdle. Like, there's always a big, stress to make it special.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'm like the princess and the pea, where I'm like, I'm used to a lap of luxury. So how can you get more than that?
Yes. So I found some places, a full meal, what are they called? A multi-course meal. And the problem is obviously it's cilantro, and there's like 8 things that you can't eat in there.
Like, prefix meals don't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
And so you found something. It was called Le Petit Chef. Le Petit Chef. And why did we think this would be good?
Okay. Number one, we like experiences, and we like to have a little fun and a little like levity.
We're getting stoned. We're doing a dinner like this. We're getting.
We want to have like we lean into like the theatrics of things, even if it's like silly.
Yes.
And the premise of Le Petit Chef is that it's like
the premise is, how do we trick a bunch of people with money?
I don't know how to explain this without feeling embarrassed that we
I'll
did
explain
it.
Okay, so what it looked like from the video, it looked like, oh, this is a nice meal. I don't know if it said like Michelin star.
Yeah, like Michelin star cuisine, like high cuisine, like in the menu.
And part of it was there's like an animation to it. Now, what I thought it was like holograms. I thought these were going to be special plates that somehow had holograms that I've yet to see in real life, where it's like a 3D chef and he makes a meal.
It's all on the table. Yeah.
And here's the part I didn't even think more, where I was like, as he makes the food, it appears.
Yes.
Almost like a magic trick. You'd be like,
yes.
You'd be like, look at that hologram. Oh my God, the tomato's here.
That's the TikTok, but that's what the TikTok videos made you think, where the little animation of the chef, he's like pulling carrots out of the garden. It's very cute. It's very like The Little Prince. Like, it's very sweet. And that's the part where I'm like, well, we'd be into the theatrics. And he's pulling these things on, like in the animation, on the plate. And then in theory, then your dish is what the animation was him creating it. So it feels very cute. But to me, the kitsch of it only works if the experience is fine dining. Like, to me, it's like, this is like a reference for no one, but like the Whitby Hotel. Like, it's a beautifully stunning hotel with like a kitschy vibe, but first and foremost, it's a 5-star hotel.
And I think that's you. And for me, I'm more like, I'm fine with okay food, but the experience has got to be cool.
Right.
And this delivered on neither of those areas.
This is like our relationship is us trying to meet each other in the middle, and 9 times out of 10, us meeting in the middle means no one gets
satisfied.
no one gets what they want. And I
So-
was like, Gianmarco wants that. Like I would go to like, wow, a 5-course delicious meal, but it would be boring for him. He wants the activity.
Yes.
And I'd go, this food is disgusting. Or like
Yeah.
I can see the cracks in the veneer of like, this was so expensive. I think that's the thing we have to talk about.
We can't not say the number. And believe me, this is not coming from the Patreon. Patreon.com/downside. We spent $580. $580 on this meal, which is, and we paid in. We knew what it was going to be because it was a full course thing.
6 meals, so that we knew the cost.
And it was one of those things where, as we took the cab to the place, we knew where it was. We knew it was in Times Square.
I didn't. I just knew it was in Manhattan. And then as the cab brought us through Times Square, I went, uh-oh, this is next to the M&M store.
And in a Marriott hotel.
In a Marriott hotel.
and like.
So that's when I knew. I knew we were duped before we got out of the Uber.
Yeah.
Which was to say, this is a tourist trap. This is the top of the rock. This is the
it was next to the View, where they.
No, I don't even think it was in. I think it was unrelated, but it was.
It was in a hotel. So we go up the elevators. There's a massive Marriott if you've never been. And the things that Tovah's able to notice is just the decor. As you know from the decor behind us, it's not my expertise. We walked in and you just clocked that it was like every floor of every
conference, convention you've been on a corporate, the carpets are the swirly patterns and the furniture is that like light wood that's like from the 80s. That's just
It wasn't a restaurant. It was a space that they added some shit to make it enough of a restaurant.
It's like when you go to a wedding in a hotel and it's in one of the ballrooms of the hotel, the carpet's still the carpet and you can tell you're in a hotel. It was that. And then
there was a pink bike there that looked like it was a memorial for someone. It didn't make sense. And you walked in, they had glasses of like pink wine like while you waited and there was 1,000 empty chairs. But I noticed right away they had like 6 glasses of wine just sitting there. So it wasn't like a fresh glass of wine. It was watered down.
Box wine for sure.
Box wine for sure. And then they had like, would you like a sample?
One thing I noticed during the wine, one of the wines is like, again, I know how this sounds, but it was like clearly a twist off bottle of wine.
Oh, was twist off? I see.
For
I don't
sure.
even clock it.
And I went, yeah.
You should have seen the way these waiters tried to sell this $16 wine.
It's like
we're just like, this has hints of
a Kirkland.
sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, anyways. So the first thing we see when we come in is the guy at the corporate check-in desk. And then one of the waiters or chefs had a plate of dumplings.
Cheap-looking dumplings.
Cheap-looking dumplings that we never got.
We never got.
Were never served. And she was rummaging through the front desk to find toothpicks, like where you find rubber bands and batteries. She was like, we were watching her holding the plate, rummaging through the desk to find toothpicks to put in the things. And Gianmarco was like, do that in the kitchen.
Yeah, because the desk wasn't like the food prep desk. It had like wet wipes and pens.
Yeah.
And they didn't give us a dumpling, but then they came out with cheese balls, mozzarella.
Arancini mozzarella balls.
Don't put Italian on this. This is
That's what they said.
And like the spoon was kind of fancy. It was a weird looking spoon.
Here's the thing. I knew in the Uber that we had been duped, but sometimes I think Gianmarco's like, but try and enjoy it. And so I was trying not to be a total bitch, but I couldn't help myself when we ate the arancini balls. And I felt bad. I almost held myself back because I wanted to be like, I didn't want to ruin the night of like, we spent a lot of money. It's our anniversary. But I was like, this tastes like a Trader Joe's frozen ball. And immediately you were like,
I had a thought. It's a Trader Joe's. It's Trader Joe's level quality.
Correct.
So then they bring you in.
Which is delicious, but
Yes, it's delicious. If we were to break down like what that ball cost, that was like a $30 cheese ball that we ate. So then you sit down. It's like the curtain separating you from the waiting area to the dining table is like
a shower curtain.
It's a shower curtain, and it's empty. And there's just plates, the regular plates, and there's just a projector
over each table.
And you have to manually line up your plates so that the ring light is correct. And then before each meal, there's like a little animation that is cool for 3 seconds, and then it's just like watching a bad Pixar movie on a plate. Like that's the viewing experience. It's not particularly unique. They show him making the food.
I think there would have been an opportunity to make a fucked up version of this. Like, I think we have a business idea of doing this exact thing, but like, instead of him like frying the meat on the grill, he's slaughtering the cow. Like, we could make a dark version of this.
Well, because I noticed that there was one where there was like a lobster that like tried to get away, and he caught the lobster. Then the lobster died suddenly, so you didn't have to see the murder of it. But then he like fucking opened the guts up, took a knife, and cut it in half. But later, and then you got some lobster. But then for the next course, there was some meat. And rather than showing the cow at any point, it just started with the steak.
Steak on the grill. Well, first of all, the funniest part about all of this was the magic trick of Gianmarco. So then you watch the animation of him making the food. And in theory, then you are served the food that he made.
In theory, what it should have been is like the food's there until the plate comes in, and there's a right away. So you go from image to food, and you go, oh,
like the
cool,
waiter
it
standing
kind
there
of
with your
appeared.
plate, and they set it down. But they didn't have enough waiters for the table, so the animation ends, and you're like, wow, a burrata salad that he created. And then the plate goes back to white, and then we sit there for probably 3 minutes.
The magic is gone.
Magic's gone, watching them serve everyone else, and we're looking at our white empty plates, and then they just serve us like a mediocre burrata salad.
And there was one meal that Tovah couldn't eat because she doesn't eat shellfish, and so they didn't have like another animation for people who can't eat shellfish.
So there was a lobster risotto for the second course, so I got like a vegetable risotto. But instead of like changing the animation, I'm like watching this lobster and like
full lobster animation. Which, by the way, if you don't like shellfish, you don't necessarily want to see a lobster on your plate.
Which is it just was so funny because it's like it's so much money. It's so much money, and to have it not be customizable in any sense of the word.
And it was one of those where like the wine refills were free, and I leaned in. But it was one of those where I had to ask 3 people each time before I actually got the refill. And I know that's part of the code. They say, wait a little longer. So
the food was also like, my fear was it was going to be like Margaritaville level. Like it's dressed up like it's expensive food, but the food was, again, I know I'm like being a bougie brat, but like the quality of the food was not...
At a certain point, can we talk about like life? If you give an exchange, if you give money, a certain amount of money, you expect something in return. I think it's okay to say, hey, this return was strange.
The ROI.
There are people who I think for this is like 60th anniversary, and they get scammed. So part of us, we're just unearthing a scam.
Yes, because I think that
your friend Jenny, though, Jenny said, "Oh my God, you went." Jenny said, "You went to Le Petit Chef."
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, "Jenny, don't go to this." And she was like, she like wouldn't believe me.
The TikToks make it look high. I thought the fine dining with the quirk, that was the lead-in.
Do you think maybe this makes you question the amount of information that you take from TikTok? That maybe basing your reality on TikToks as you do might be a faulty source of information?
I think I have but I think I'm good at smelling that stuff out a little bit. Most of the time.
Yeah, you smelled it after the second course. We said, oh. So the funniest part, though, was these animations were pretty weak. Like this was like a bad Looney Tunes. Like in terms of like the kind of slapstick. This chef keeps setting himself on fire. But
clumsy little chef.
The other tables were fucking dying. They were laughing so god. This chef, he slips off the ice into the water. He was like wobbling, and they were like, oh. So,
and you know what else was bizarre about that? Because I do think, like, the same way if you had a kid and you brought your kid to New York City and you wanted them to have a tourist adventure that's New York City, this fits that bill. This is going to the American Girl Cafe. This is taking them to a Broadway, like Wicked. But it was shocking how few children there were. To me, it's like, this is a cool, like, not 60th birthday anniversary, a rich 10-year-old's birthday.
A rich 10-year-old. Because even if you have, like, some money, you're not going to take your 10-year-old to the $500 meal where he can't even get the free wine.
If you were going to take them to a $500 meal, you would rather have less good quality food and this than take your 10-year-old to Nobu.
Yes.
And so there is a market for this. It's rich 10-year-olds. It's the same way we went to the Russian tea room and we saw a table of girls in little rich kitty uniforms having afternoon tea together. And I'm like, those are the richest little girls I've ever seen. It's for them. We were duped.
So I think we've decided our next anniversary, we're going to do Empire State Building, maybe. Maybe Lion King rush tickets. But that's our review. And if you want to make a reservation for Le Petit Chef, visit lepetitchef.com. Use code DOWNSIDE for discounted reservations. But I really do believe the problem is it's only fun to make these when it's bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like we can get free meals out of this. We've gotten one free meal.
How are we going to get free meals out of?
Okay, we got one free meal at that fish place once way back in the day. You remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
We got free earrings once.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we've gotten. Someone recently offered me. I've gotten really good at knowing that for anniversary, Tovah doesn't want a funny gift. And there was someone who said, would you like to sponsor this thing called Fart Guard on the podcast? It's like a special kind of.
What does that mean?
It's like a special kind of like shorts that are good for holding in farts. And so
that was your anniversary idea?
No, I know. I'm saying I have a smart enough brain that I said don't get Fart Guard, even as like a joke with a good gift.
That's not a smart enough brain. That's not like points for you. That you held yourself back from that.
I think there's a lot.
I know Tovah so well. I know her so well that she wouldn't want the fart underwear for her.
I think there's a lot of guys that think that the funniness of the gift is going to be like enough. And I know that I could never get a gift funny enough to overpower Le Petit Chef. So I do think we're going to get free meals out of this. If you have an interactive restaurant, please tell us to go. We will check it out. We'll give it a review. Honestly, I think some people will check it out just to see if we were right, if it was fun. So find us. We're Tovarco.
If you give us a free meal, we won't say anything bad.
This is
that
the
allowed?
upside.
Is that legal?
Is it?
I don't
You're the
know.
one who knows. I'll call my lawyer.
Yeah.
Enjoy this episode with Justin Willman. And tell Tovah that you love this. Write messages to me because I'll get Tovah to do more.
No.
I'll get Tovah to do more. Okay? Pete Holmes does a weekly episode.
With his wife?
This is the downside.
Does he?
Yeah.
Really?
It's called We Made It Weird.
I'll listen to that.
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
Hello, welcome to The Downside. This is Gianmarco Soresi. I'm here at Melrose Podcast Studio with my producer, Paige Asachika.
I've been upgraded to co-host today.
You are. I'm visiting LA, and this is a very expensive studio. Losing more money than normal on today's episode. They even have drinks. I'm drinking this thing. It says Bashi Akava Experience. It doesn't say anything about what makes this drink special, but on the back it says you have to be 18 or older to drink it. And it says the statements provided have not been evaluated by the FDA. No statements have been provided on the can, though. So I'm nervous. It doesn't say THC anywhere, but we'll see where this goes.
Oh,
I have a very important meeting in 2 hours. Who knows? The Downside, this is a place. I'm trying to get better at this little intro, especially for the guest to understand. This. Oh, sure. It's okay. You can even keep this in. Okay. That's the kind of show this is. This is going on YouTube. This is our producer. Remind me your name. Forgive me. We just met. Jared, fantastic. Jared, like clearly has worked on a much bigger shows where a backpack can't be in frame. The downside, it can be wherever the fuck we want.
You just had your keys in the frame.
I had my keys in the frame. This is a place where things can go wrong, where people can complain. We talk about the negatives. We allow people to share their failures. They don't need to pretend to be grateful. They can kvetch, bitch, moan. It's fantastic. Even Jared, fuck it. If you want to come in and say why you hate being here today, that's fine. And we're here. I didn't expect you to start when I said. Oh no! Oh yeah, we're here, and we're here with a very special guest, Justin Willman.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
So good to be here. So good to be introduced so that now I can chime in on all the hijinks.
Yes.
I mean, so much to say about the kava. I feel like maybe the fine print is too fine. We haven't noticed it.
Do you know what kava is?
No, but
I feel like this is like an LA.
But it must be good if you have to be 18. Everything good happens after 18. Nothing good is available for minors, if you think about it.
Sure. But that's why I'm confused. Is it like there must be something in it? And I looked at the ingredients. There's nothing here. You got to be 18 to have peach juice concentrate? I don't know. We'll see. Jess, I'm very excited to have you.
Thanks for having me.
I've been a fan for a long time. I don't know, when you walk in, you see the cast and you go, what did I agree to? But you're here.
No, this place is nice. This place must be expensive.
Oh,
I walked in and I was like, wow.
Well, let me tell you something.
This is expensive.
When you book these kind of studios, they say there's the one camera option, and then there's the multi-camera option, which somehow the multi-camera, it's tenfold. And I originally said, let's do the one camera. And then Paige said, but what if he does a trick? And I said, motherfucker, now we got to get the multicam. So just putting that out there in the universe. No pressure for you, but this did cost $10,000 more to get multi-angles. I want to talk about so much, but I have to first just talk briefly. My sisters live here. And last night they introduced me to the show Naked Attraction. Have you seen this show?
No, I have not seen it.
Justin. It's a British show.
Yeah. Full on.
It's a dating show. Host brings out the person who's looking for a date. There's 6 boxes, there's different colored lights. The beginning of the show, level 1, they raise the boxes so it's just over all the guest waist, just their genitals, their backside, and then they just go around and they talk, they discuss, they compare. What do you like?
You're saying the box covers everything but the genitals.
Yes. So first they're all covered, and level 1
covers the hideous faces, the hideous bodies.
Yes. All you see at the beginning of the show, waist down.
Wow.
And then they go up and they look and they go, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Turn around. And also it's in England, so you know what that means with the guys, at least.
They're tiny?
Maybe, yes, a little bit. Uncirced.
I see.
I've never seen
de Soleil.
Uncirced de Soleil. That would be it. That when they make the American version. It is. I've never seen so many uncircumcised penises in my life, and just a variety. Some, a little head is remaining. Some, like a balloon, a tide. I mean, all the way. I didn't know. I thought it was like kind of one thing. But it's a whole level of individuality that I don't have. I don't know about you. We just met. It's okay, but I imagine
yeah.
Circumcised.
Yes, circumcised.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was into.
Very circumcised. Extremely circed.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. It's very interesting to see the other side of the pond, literally. Like you're seeing it's like what frogs look like in a different part of the world. You can't believe it.
I'm always curious, can you trim? Do you have to do the full? Because some, I'm telling you, it loops
could
back.
have done with a little more trimming, you're saying?
Well, I'm just curious, is there like a half version? Like, does anyone keep their foreskin but get it shaped? I feel like that would be like an LA thing. Like, oh, you haven't had, now they got the buccal fat. What is the thing everyone's getting out of their face now?
The buccal fat removal.
The buccal fat removal.
What?
Foreskin trim. You don't know about the buccal fat removal?
I don't.
You live in LA and you
live
don't know.
in LA.
Yeah. I should be spending more money on things.
It's this fat is removed.
Why do they call it buccal fat?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like it gives the illusion of like hollow
dimples.
cheeks and like higher cheekbones.
It's very obvious. Like it's like it's not a subtle surgery.
You know what else does that? Crystal meth.
Sure.
You know? Really
Well,
good.
maybe that's what's in this. We'll see.
We'll see. That 2:00 meeting might need to be pushed.
But I watched it with my sisters because what's so interesting about the show is it's very not sexual in a way that only the British can achieve. It is like so then you do the first level, they eliminate someone, then it's the chest, which honestly I don't know which one I'd be more.
And what criteria are they looking for?
They just talk like, oh, I like hair. And then it goes to an infographic. 80% of British women say they like a man with a hairy bum, and very basic
learning.
like evolutionary facts that you're like, surely it's not as simple as this. And or they go, oh, orange pubes. I don't really like that.
It's probably natural.
And then it goes up to their neck, then it goes to their face. Each time they're eliminating someone. Final round, the contestant has to get naked and does one final like talking to them. Then they pick one, they hug, and whenever they hug, it's this incredible reach over without their genitals touching. And then they go on a date and they make a stupid they go, I can't wait to see her with her clothes on. And then they go on the horrifically staged date, and then it cuts to a month later and they're together or they're not. And but it's weird because once it gets to the date, they don't. It loses any sex. They don't. When they come back, they don't even ask, "Did you have sex?" So in a way, it's like very naked, obviously, but it lacks the American reality shows. I feel like it's like, "Did you fuck?"
Right.
Like that's so much of the Bachelor. I don't even watch it, but I remember Joe Millionaire. It was like they had in the subtitles "slurp, slurp, slurp." I remember way back. Like Americans is like, did they fuck? And this show, it's so weird because it's not did they fuck, but they're fully nude. And I'm talking close-ups. This high-def camera, but right on the dick.
Did it make you uncomfortable during the penis part? That I'm sure your sisters have seen more penises than you have.
Well, we discussed this because apparently my mother, who's now in a relationship or has been dating a bunch, apparently texted my sister, I'm with a guy. He's uncut. What do I do? And I think it's funny, the sister that she picked to ask that question, like she was like, this is the one who would know. And my mom, she grew up in Long Island. Most of the dicks she's seen are circumcised, but she didn't know.
That's what Siri's for, if you think about it. Really.
That's my sister's
It said
name.
sent with Siri at the bottom of it. I bet that guy would have loved to be asked that question.
Sure.
Let me show you what to do.
I think the way my mom would have asked him, been like, oh, what do I do with that?
Was it like, what do I do? Like, how do I get out of here?
No, I think it's, I don't even know what my mom was asking exactly. Or you do whatever you did with the other one.
Right.
But there's just, you got to pull a little harder down. I don't know. So it was
John,
very.
I'm gonna have you scooch in.
Of me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scooch
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your seat.
Sure. Okay. Oh, my seat.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
You're
Keep
good.
this in. Keep it all in.
It's the voice of God right there.
So my question is, you have a sister.
I do.
Would
Oh
you
my
feel
God,
uncomfortable
how do you know
watching this?
He's magic.
Yes, I know. I did my research.
Yeah.
Would you watch the show with your sister, or do you have a relationship where you'd be like, this is weird?
We'd watch it together. I know she'd be way more like blushy than I would. It'd be a little weirder for her.
Now, here's
to
my
watch it with
question.
me.
Which would you feel more uncomfortable looking at? Because I was surprised by what I felt. The naked man or the naked woman? The close-ups of a penis or the close-ups of a vagina?
Both would probably be something neither of us have seen in such great lighting. Like
Sure.
it's probably very interesting. I feel like there's a trick question, like something about what I would do.
I was surprised where I thought it would be the penises, but it was more the vaginas. Where I was like, oh,
wow, they come like that too.
yeah, just being with my sisters, it just felt like, like something about that.
Oh, yeah, that feels
felt
creepy.
like Whereas the dicks, it was just like whatever.
Yeah.
because you have one.
Do they
You
mix
think
the?
that's it?
Is it men and women? Or is
Sometimes
it's a,
it's
mixed
a
round?
bisexual contestant, and you get to really see
Hey,
the way the things.
there we go.
Sometimes all women, sometimes all men. I can't imagine if I was a contestant on the show and there were like 6 naked women. I feel like I'd be like, They're all beautiful. They're all beautiful, each in their own way. I would never be able to pick. I would
then
just
when the
feel
boxes come off the heads, it's like, surprise, it's your sisters.
well,
Can you imagine?
I have a tattoo, and I told my sisters, I was like, what if you're watching the show and the first level, you're like, oh no, oh no.
I know that tat.
So watch that show. We're being sponsored by that show. I want to host that show when it comes to
Who does host that show?
It's like a British lady. And she really is like, she lets the show do the work. You know what I mean? She really, I think there's so much going on with the show.
She gets out of the way.
Yeah, because I feel like any joke I would think of, I would be like, is this going to get me in trouble? Just roasting. What am I roasting people's genitals?
Do they roast the
Not
dicks?
really. They
No.
let the.
Does the crowd laugh? Oh God!
There's
can you
no
imagine?
crowd. There's no crowd.
Can you imagine a live studio audience?
There was a guy, he had a big
Oh.
elephant tattoo that he got, I guess, in college. And so that's the big reveal. They pull it up and you're like, oh my God, a big elephant ear tattoo.
What's the trunk?
I mean, it was a
penis?
trunk. It was an appropriate tattoo. Wow. So, Justin.
Yeah. Is this? Should I take my pants off? Is that what's?
Yeah, that's the new segment we're gonna do for the Patreon members. Patreon.com/downside. Me and Russell will do the naked attraction. Justin, I love magic. I've watched. I even for my sketch team back in the day, we did a parody of making the person invisible.
Oh yeah.
And it was like a son with his mom and stepdad. And the moment the son thought he was invisible, he just went in front of the stepdad and was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And they tried to handle that.
Great.
Did anything with that sketch, did anything where someone, like, they said they're invisible and they went in the women's restroom and you're like, no, okay, cut. I mean, not someone's going to rob a bank.
Yeah, it is. It's like a nice social experiment in that way. What would you do? You know?
Have you ever had to stop because a real person was just like, you're like, oh, we're not filming this segment. We're not airing this segment. Because I did What Would You Do, which is a hidden camera show, a couple times. And there were times where I was like, oh, well, we can't air this.
We did a bit once where we, I worked with a hypnotist to kind of hypnotically suggest that when this certain flashing pattern of lights happened, that they would do ridiculous things, bark like a dog, or just do weird screaming things. I would just open up a box, and it was crazy. Like, I don't know if you believe in hypnosis, but I believe it. At least I believe that some people are hypnotized.
Yes, I agree.
And we shot this bit, and it was funny, but I felt so bad for these people. Like, I felt like I don't know that they would ever be okay seeing how they just behaved against their will. Not against their will, but just it just felt a little exploitative. I was like, you know what, we have to. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you do it.
What kind of
sometimes.
things did they make them do?
They just look ridiculous. And I'm like, this person has a job probably that might get them fired because they're like doing the worm on the sidewalk or something, you know?
Is there any legal... Has anyone ever sued and they, like, in court of law, you plead insanity. Can you plead I was hypnotized?
Oh, interesting.
I mean,
Like
because you would sue.
Manchurian candidate kind of thing. You would sue. You would.
Have you been hypnotized?
No, I don't think so. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried it for relaxation or for just a hypnosis show.
Well, I went to a summer camp and there was like a magic. There was like two magicians at the summer camp, and one of them did hypnosis. And I remember I had the hiccups, and I used to get bad, long hiccups, and they did like a hypnosis, and then I relaxed, and they went away. And I can't do it to myself. I've tried.
Wow.
And you've never had the hiccups since?
No, but in that moment,
moment.
like I couldn't. Sometimes I could not get them to stop, and they did like a. And I think, I was an actor first. I think I have enough of that, like, I'll believe.
Right.
And that I can enter it
Or
sometimes.
it's showtime? All right, I'll override my biology. Yeah, I've left people pleased. I mean, sometimes people who have, no one's sued. I've had people, did this bit. It's so funny, the things that people might later, when a clip goes viral, like, think is embarrassing for themselves. But, like, where this UPS guy dropped off a package that was, weighed like 8 pounds. It was a big box. And then he right as soon as he set it down, like I jumped out of it and I was like, hey, thank you so much. I'll sign for it. And his brain broke because he was like, I was just carrying this thing. It weighed nothing. And this 170-pound dude comes out. It was a magic trick. He didn't know I was a magician. So we shot a hidden camera, and he was very happy on the day. Oh, you're a magician. Oh, that was crazy. But then when the clip starts going around, he just think like people are sharing it with him and like, oh man, you're an idiot. How did you, like, so he's kind of like now, like 2 years later thinking like, oh man, that magician's an asshole. Like he made me look dumb.
Sure.
It happens.
So I know a little bit of your story, but you started magic when you were young.
When I was a kid, 12.
And can you for those who don't know the story of how you first were introduced to trying magic?
Well, I became a magician by accident because I was 12 years old riding my bike while wearing rollerblades one day after school.
Because you were this kind of kid? This was who you were?
I was this kind of kid, yeah. I didn't, I really was very nervous around girls, but I had a lot of friends who were girls. So I was like this friend zone safe buddy.
Yeah.
But I was also like so just nervous and terrified about the girls are so cute. What do I do and say? So I would like do stupid stuff just to get out of having to have a conversation.
I just told jokes, but you chose to put on rollerblades.
Same thing, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a joke. It was like it was my Super Dave Osborne moment. And I felt anyway. I broke both of my arms that day. Was in cast for 6 months.
And how bad of a break?
Compound on the left side, which means bone sticking out. Cool.
Do you remember this moment, or do you like black out?
I remember thinking back. I remember the moment where they hang your arm when they set the bone. They hang it from like Chinese finger traps, but they're wire. Those things that like. And so my arm is being pulled down, and they're just like a guy putting his full force on it just to get the bones to kind of like separate enough to shape them. And
you see the bone in front of you.
Yeah,
Are you screaming? Are you crying? Are you like
screaming? It was screaming, wailing.
Did they like give you shots to numb it, but you still felt? I mean,
Exactly. I think I woke up from the anesthesia in that moment.
Oh my god.
And I've had a kidney stone since then, which was not as painful as that moment.
Oh.
Do you ever have PTSD or flashbacks? You like see your bone sticking out? I mean, I've never seen my bone.
I think they shielded it from me a lot. Like I don't have a real clear visual of it. I think as soon as somebody saw it, because it was probably over here, like you can see the spot where it was. It's a little bit out of my view. So I think somebody saw it and they were like, okay, just you look over here, But I remember seeing it. I just can't picture it in my head.
That's gotta be so. Like, were your parents like, God damn it, why'd you do this? You're crazy. Or did they like that you were just?
I think they knew this
kid?
was bound to happen. This some.
You hope it's a broken pinky,
exactly.
Not a bone sticking.
Well, I was in cast for 6 months. It healed bad. They had to re-break it at one point. It became like 12 months. Along the way, my doctor saw how I would perk up when this magician would come in through the hospital. So he told my parents, get him a magic book, and then he kind of loosely prescribed magic as physical therapy. So that's how I became a magician. I got obsessed. Cast came off. Became a magic guy.
So this magician, this was like a service the hospital offered of like
local magician, Dr. Magic, they called him. Not an actual doctor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he good looking back?
Well, yeah, his tricks worked. It was the first, I think he was I was old enough then, like 12, to look at that and not think like I'm watching this as an audience member, but more like I could do that. That looks fun to do. I see what he's doing. I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. You know what I mean? Not like ooh, how did he do that? It was more like, I know what you're doing, but tell me more about what's going on. What's in your other hand? That kind of thing.
Did you ever because I saw when you have kids, I think when you do magic for like kids, it's the cutest because they're truly young enough to think that it's magic.
Real.
And I don't know if I think that's the coolest.
And they forget that they're being filmed, so they're not self-conscious about looking amazed or like letting it show that their minds are blown.
There was one episode where a kid started crying, and I just curious in that moment where you were like, oh fuck, they made the kid cry. Oh no, is this we're gonna edit this to look nice, or is it gonna be? How have you had a lot of kids cry? It was in the first episode of
It was when I made this kid's marshmallow disappear, and then I blamed him for eating it. We kind of recreated the Stanford marshmallow experiment, and he was just it was just so sweet. And I'm essentially gaslighting him with magic. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You ate it? He's like, no, I didn't eat it. It just disappeared. And he realizes how crazy that sounds. And he starts crying. So I swoop in. And I mean, I've over the years performed for kids for years. And yeah, kids start crying, or, you get them on stage and everyone laughs at something I say, but they think everyone's laughing at something they're doing. They just can't handle, you know. It's a lot when you're on even in a backyard birthday party. All of a sudden you're on stage with a magician and you're 5 and everyone's looking at you. Like, it's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
When you're not someone who wants to be a performer, especially.
Sure.
So this kid, I kind of felt that moment that I swoop in, and I think in the moment I thought, well, we'll cut around that.
Yeah.
And then
CGI the tears out, make him have a big smile on his
But then
face.
when we saw it, I was like, man, it's so real. It's so real, and I think people will feel like, oh, this is so fun. Oh my God, he really believes it. Oh, it's so sad. And then you just had to paint it red. So I was like, well, we made a kid cry. So phase 1 is a success. Moving on. And Dan Levy's one of my best friends, stand-up comedian, Dan Levy. And I remember showing him an early cut. He's like, well, you have to edit out the kid crying. Like, and I was like, I strongly disagree. And I think I chose wisely. I think it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
It's okay to see a kid cry if it's not, if you make it right in the end. I gave him another marshmallow.
I think it's a real debate in the age of especially social media. There is a clip that I think is truly, like, the fact that, like, it put in a museum, and it's essentially the make the person think they're invisible clip. Do you know the one I'm talking about? It's like a family. They make a little girl disappear, and she starts freaking, and all of a sudden her whole family becomes like Oscar award-winning actors. Like, the mom does such a good job being like, where is she? Where is she? And she starts losing her mind. And it looks like the kind of thing that you need to go to therapy for later in life. It is the funniest fucking video I've ever seen. Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen iterations of it. Maybe
This
not
is
the
the
one.
one
This is
that's
one
probably the
specific where
most
this
one.
like little girl just like collapses, and she's like, oh, Mom, I'm here, Mom. I'm here, Mom. And it is, and I don't know. I could see people watching it and going like, pranks are always tricky. Everyone has their own feelings about pranks.
Yeah, what's your feelings about pranks?
I love
A good
pranks. I do. But I did What Would You Do? Do you know the show? It's on ABC.
Yeah.
And there was one that they did that they ended up cutting, where I don't think I signed anything. They
You did it as a hidden camera
as
actor?
a hidden camera actor, yeah, a big break, and they basically it was catfishing people. They've done this show for so long. They've done every kind of moral premise you can imagine, and they were setting up dates with people on dating apps. And they would show one person, and then when they showed up, it would be a completely different person. It was a crazy shoot because it was organized around setting up dates. So people would cancel. People would be running late.
Yep.
And we all had earwigs. And I was like a young actor, and they said again and again, just say exactly what we tell you. They don't want me making any artistic decisions. And so this woman comes, this young woman. I greet her. She looks confused because it was some blonde model guy, and it was me, and that felt good. And the moment we sit down, they go propose to her, and you're like, fuck me, dude, fuck me. The worst I think was
You felt like you're the one getting pranked for a second. You're like, wait a second.
well, I imagine one day that like they come out and the real thing is, what would you do to be on TV? Turns out it's make a woman cry.
Yeah.
And that's what happened is basically the host came out, said, what would you do? And she started sobbing and was like, dating is so scary. And the host like tried to pivot it to like, it is. And that's why we made this segment to highlight the dangers of dating. And she signed the waiver. And then apparently her mom called the station later and was like, don't you fucking dare air this segment. She's 18 or 19 or whatever. And ultimately they didn't air it. Whole shoot day. They just threw away.
So I just finished making a prank show for the past year and a half.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like in the weeds. Still, we're editing it like it's for Netflix. It's a magic prank show.
Yeah.
And it's so funny you mentioned that invisible family, because we're talking to them because it's basically a revenge prank show. It's me kind of making it right karmically for all those kids that I terrorized. And it's like using magic to help people settle scores in their life. So was going to help that girl reprank her family, you know.
Sure.
And you know, they're over it at this point. They were like, we kind of just want to move on from that stupid video. We hate that it keeps living on. So I got contacted by another kid who went viral. This kid Ezekiel. He's probably the second most popular one, where his sisters convinced him he was invisible, and he like just loses it. And you see the moment the brain breaks, because we did it on Magic for Humans, where it was just to an adult grown man in the park, and we kind of flash mobbed him into it, and everyone kind of, basically the crowd kind of gaslights him into thinking that he's invisible, like this is real. And with kids, obviously, it's much easier, because the people who they look to for confirmation are pretending like they don't see him. So you see these. It's really heartbreaking when you see those.
The
kids
photo
really
is the
believe it.
best part of it all. Where they take a photo before they're there, so like they can. I mean, that's the moment where. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's
that
brilliant.
was our favorite addition to it. Yeah, because then it becomes like, oh, I can do that, you know, and everyone kind of hopped on it. But it's wild doing these shoots where everything is a lie. You know, the whole ruse. Basically, you're basically this elaborate conspiracy just to get the right person there at the right time, and you don't know what you're going to get. And yeah, sometimes you do have to throw out the whole day's work. It's wild.
That's gonna be stressful to pitch to just. I mean, have you had whole shoot dates where you were like, we didn't get it, or this didn't work? Yeah. I mean, you really have to like plan, will this work?
Yeah.
Like we did another, it was a What Would You Do? And it was like, I was setting up a big office in a Starbucks, like a printer and a blah, blah, blah. And it was really humiliating because they keep telling me like, no one's noticing anything. So they want me to be bigger and bigger. And at some point they had, I was just getting so big that someone was like, I think this is a hidden camera show. And they felt like they blamed, ultimately I got like relegated. I was the voiceover in some part instead. But it was as if like my acting had been too over the top that the shoot date got ruined.
I think what they're missing is the takeaway it's a social experiment. Yeah, nobody notices. These days, like you have to be insane for people in the Starbucks to want to even...
Yeah, especially in New York.
Yeah,
in New York, nobody. Yeah. I'm sure a guy brings his desktop computer. Like it's hilarious, and I think that's what's funny is that it's not weird. You know,
people just mind their own business in New York too. So it's like, okay, that guy's.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
of course, there's also 3 people sleeping on the chairs. It's like this guy's actually doing pretty well in terms of the social agreement.
Yeah, we got to get him a laptop, maybe an iPad.
Are there any, you've ever had an idea that you go, I can't do that, but fuck, that would be so fucking funny? Any ones that you said and they said, no, we can't do that, or legally it's too tricky, or, I mean, it's hard. It's a tough needle to thread.
We had this bit that we were pretty close to shooting until our specific marks went away, but where I wanted to make someone think that they ate a bunch of psychedelic mushrooms when they didn't actually. So make somebody basically, a bag is left out or whatever it is, and they ate them thinking it was something else, and the labels change, and now it's like, wait, it does say it. It's psilocybin mushroom. And instead of them actually tripping, so it's a placebo effect, like we magic up the entire world, like walls changing colors, dudes levitating, like basically using magic to create the psychedelic experience to see if they would truly believe they're tripping out enough to be like, to confide in somebody, be like, I need your help. I ate a bunch of mushrooms and I'm losing my shit,
Yeah.
And we got pretty close to doing it, but the concern that kept popping up was like, if someone thinks they're tripping out when they're not, like, are they going to do something that's a risk to their own safety? Or like when the guy's invisible, is he going to rob a bank?
Sure.
Like there were those concerns, which I think is, I mean, you've got a good idea when there's ways that it could be it could go very awry.
Well, it's also, so many of these remind me of, I took psychology in high school, and there was a classic experiment of this is back when teachers could do some wild shit, but basically told the whole class they were getting drunk at a party, but none of them actually got alcohol. And they showed the video, and by the end, they're like on each other's laps and they're flirting. And it's like, that was not alcohol. You created that. And so many of those old psychology experiments today, it's a Stanford prison experiment. It's all this stuff. But I feel like magic and psychology, obviously they're very intertwined, But whether I could imagine an experimenter coming to a magician and going like, help me come up with
Well, the magician can come up with a way to make the variable, like to create the illusion that that variable is real. So like, you know, how would someone react if, like to test the placebo effect on mushrooms, like let's have him not be psychedelic mushrooms. Will they believe, like magic, you can create the illusion of a different reality, which I think is probably useful in science, you know, in social examinations. I love that stuff.
I think I always loved, there was some video, it was basically about like when babies develop cognitively, where there was a trick where they would push something off a shelf and it wouldn't fall. It wouldn't respect the rules of gravity. So you know, like, but it was a wall here and it would go here. And they could calculate what age a baby would, it wouldn't mean anything to it. It's just taking visual inputs. And at what age the baby goes, what? And I think about like that in terms of like that's the age that a baby could conceive of magic is when they understand what gravity is internally in some capacity.
It's just as simply as like the retention of vision. Like if I have a coin and I do to my kids, like to my son Jack, he's 5 now, but like I remember early on trying to see at what point he clocks it as magic, you know, just something is there, boom, it's gone. And I think up to age 2, the kid just kind of looks to the other hand, which is somehow always where it is. Like, but they're just kind of like, must have been my mistake. Hold on, it must be somewhere else. Not like I'm sure it was there and now it's gone. You know, like you do it to a dog, you have to do it really quick. Like here's a treat, it's gone, and they'll just go because they just think I must have missed it falling or something. You know,
because
what I mean?
the dog doesn't have the capability to go, oh,
they're confused.
Another hand would hold a thing. I mean, like that's right.
Right. I mean, like the sleight of hand of it, you know, just like, you know, it's here, no, it's not, and it's, you know, secretly still there. Fools somebody, that fools them as they get older and more experienced, less so later, because they just, gestures and naturalness don't mean as much to a kid or a dog. They just think it's not in this hand, I must be confused where, well, it was most recently then in the other hand, must still be there, you know? It's interesting how it doesn't work as well.
Have you, so you could go up to a dog and make a dog confused? Like, have you ever done it?
With one finger.
Could you ever get like 20 dogs and like confuse them all at the same time? If you were able to hold their attention?
Well,
if you had a piece of meat?
The old tennis ball and then the fake throw, they all run, you know, and then they're
That's
just
so
so confused.
I just wonder, but they probably lack the ability to then feel like, oh, cool. They're just confused. And then they move on.
Exactly.
And then they don't care anymore. Wow. Can I ask, is your mother still alive?
She's not.
She's not. I apologize.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm so curious because she had Alzheimer's. And it was fascinating watching your segment because I thought about on the other side of life when certain magic would no longer be impressive or just like the ability to recognize what was before and what has shifted. Like whether you witnessed, I mean, I don't know how much magic you're doing for your family. If they're like, please stop. What do you do with your kids? How much are you doing?
Well, I mean, with my parents, I wouldn't be doing magic casually. I rarely do. I used to, but I rarely do now. So when they would see me, it'd be in a show, right, in a live show. And, you know, like if you're doing stand-up or like when you're live, things breathe a little more, right? You milk the laughs. Like a joke might be much tighter if you're taping a TV set where it's like, no crowd work. I'm not going to pause it. I'm going to go strict to the script versus a live show. So therefore, like a magic trick's a long thing to follow with, okay, the premise, where we start, oh, he's borrowing a bill and this. And there was a time, probably a couple years into my mom having Alzheimer's, where I could tell she just couldn't follow, like the tricks were not as, here it is, now it's gone. You know, that's not my kind of thing. Like the TV show, there's visual big things. But yeah, magic does start to fade away and the politeness gets, you know, people with Alzheimer's are often, they don't want to make you feel bad, you know. So it's kind of like, no, it's great. Or she'll be so excited about the enthusiasm and the laughs in the room. But that day where I shot that bit for her, I don't know how much of it resonated as magic necessarily because it's a subtle trick with it.
She probably behaved as my mom does when I try to tell her jokes now, which is, that's great. That's really...
That was the end of the joke. Funny, I get it, you know? Yeah, exactly.
But your mom came up with your first name?
Yeah.
That was her?
Uh-huh.
Just incredible, by the way.
Oh, it's gold.
It's a
That's
good
a
name.
great name.
That's a
pretty
good
good.
name.
Yeah.
It is a good name. It's a good name.
Is
If there was a time when I first moved to LA, like 02, 03, I was doing kids' birthday parties. I just graduated college, and I was like, I could go. And I heard what money the Wiggles were making at the time. You know, they were
What kind of money was the Wiggles making?
10, 20, 30 million a year touring around.
Really?
the world.
Whoa.
And I was like, I could go all in and just be like that kid magician guy, you know, just incredible, you know, what Blippi is now, you know, and there's a lot of money in that. And if, you know, but I didn't have it in me to exclude everybody else and just focus. Like, I love kids.
I think about that a lot in terms of like what it means to be a kid's artist. Like so much of I think about it more recently because I've noticed where I have fans and I'm like, they're 16. And I think like, oh, I'm trying to write jokes, the best jokes I can. And it's not a bad thing. You know, Chappelle was my favorite when I was in high school, but I'm like, that's so crazy that I'm like trying to write jokes and a 16-year-old's like, oh, I fucking love that joke. And I think about like, what is it like as an adult to have your output be for 8-year-olds? And also like, I think so much of like, especially stand-up comedy, there is a deep wanting respect of your peers. And like, you're all like trying to make the funniest joke. And then if you are a kid's artist, whether there's anything weird, if you go to your musician friends who are writing songs about pain and you're like, yeah, I wrote one about the pain of your mom packed the wrong Lunchables, and you're with your friends and they're like, cool. Your friends are never like, hey, I love that new juice box bit that you wrote. And you thought
can't
about
go up
it.
at the cellar with what you do
course.
for a living. You're saying you have to kind of pivot it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why I just knew that my calling was a little bit more. That wasn't my authentic.
How big were these kids? I mean, we were making good money kids' birthday parties.
Yeah. I was like, but I'm, I'm playing to the kids, but I'm really playing to the back of the
You're a
room.
Pixar
So it's
movie.
like a comedy club in that, it's more fun to make the fellow comics in the back of the room laugh, just like at a kids' party. It's more fun to make the parents who are lingering in the back. My goal was like, I'm just going to make sure that they shut up and they can't help but watch because it's just such a funny, good show. Because otherwise they all turn into chat, even these parties, and then everything suffers, So I was like, the show, I'm going to make the parents think it's for the kids, but they'll quickly realize it's for the adults, really.
Any because those parties, I mean, for comedy, it can be so hard. Same with magic; it demands a degree of attention for it to be working.
Mm-hmm.
Any gigs that it was just like you were it was chaos, disastrous corporates or kids.
Oh man, so many. Well, I would do like bar and bat mitzvahs sometimes, where before I knew the only
I
way
make your
it
foreskin
works-
reappear.
Yes. And change shapes into the 4 of clubs. Is that it? I would do strolling magic. That's the only event, like that's the style of magic that you would do at any sort of big nutty party where there's no show. I am the show wherever I go. So I'm striking up conversation. Hey, how's it going? I'm Justin Willman. I'm the magician actually tonight. Going to show you guys a trick. And you kind of go from group to group. And very much it's like, how's it going? Yeah, I'm the magician. And you just kind of, but trying to do a trick in front of a big crowd like that where no one's got the capacity for more than 20 seconds of whatever you're saying is pretty tough with magic.
So strolling, when you went to the bar mitzvah, were you there? You going up to like, if I was hanging out with my 13-year-old friends and some adult came over like, hey kids, was it?
Well, I wasn't I haven't done a bar mitzvah for maybe 8 to 10 years. So I was maybe 30-ish, and then I think I looked probably 25-ish. So I think it was kind of like oh, who's this guy? Someone's older brother's over here. The cool, cool older brother. At least that's what I thought. I was deluding myself and thinking that's what I was being.
They weren't thinking, who's that
in their head.
pedophile coming over here with a deck of cards?
But you'd find like it's especially for like wallflowers at a party like that. They oh yes, there's something to do other than dance. I don't want to dance. I don't want to, So I'm going to follow the magician around. Sometimes the kids get a little grabby. They're like, it's up your sleeve. No, and you'll get a kid's hand in your pocket and you have to swat it away.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, what of the slate of gigs was it like? Fuck, I have a. Was it fuck? I have a bar mitzvah this weekend, or was there an age of kids' birthday where you're like, oh fuck, it's a 12-year-old party. That's
Sometimes
where they're all going through
4.
puberty. And it's 4.
It's super young. Like sometimes a parent will have seen me at a 5 or 6-year-old. They're like, we really want you to do it. It's a 4th birthday. There's going to be kids ages 2, 3, and 4. And then they're so young that you can't even worry about playing in the back of the room because they're just losing them. They're walking all over the place. Like it's just too young. And then maybe the money was great or something. That's why I normally it's like I have a hard line. It's like it's 4 3/4 and up, or that's it, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you'll be like, yeah, I'll take the gig. Sounds good, and you'll regret it later.
Oh God.
Because you're kind of an expensive babysitter in some instances. If they don't know you or think that they're not hyping you up, it's kind of like, all right, kids, the magician, so that we can all drink for an hour, and you just shuffled them away.
We've had on Mac the Knife. Do you know who Mac the Knife is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Performer uses knives.
Yeah.
Colleges does colleges.
Does a lot of colleges.
Yeah, I know him from NACA.
He talked about working with Roy Wood Jr. at NACA. I only did a Zoom NACA. You don't do it.
I used to do NACAs all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
For 10 years, I did I was 200 shows a year. I was just like a road dog. Yeah. It was that was like the boot camp, the real.
Are
real
you
training.
still? I'm so interested in the craft of magic in terms of I know techniques can be. They're not legally copywritten, just like within the community they're copywritten, or Harrison Greenbaum, I'm sure, because I know he had some dispute with someone of some trick where it was his trick, but someone said it was your whole world. Is there an organization?
It's a whole bunch of gray area. Yeah, is
there one main organization
No, I mean. And an organization, I would say, is an organization as much as, AAA or something. It's like they're not going to go to bat for you or
of course.
get all up in your business. There are several magic clubs and organizations: the International Brotherhood of Magicians, Society of American Magicians, the Magic Castle, who kind of have. For the most part, magicians just have to police themselves. The art form polices itself, and hopefully disputes get resolved, or at least discussed, or at least people are given a chance to decide how they feel about it. I might be the guy that Harrison was talking about, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well, then I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I take no sides. I
It's
don't
been
even
a
know
while.
a single thing about it.
But in magic, the thing is that there's there's so many ways to take a trick and spin it and make it feel like brand new, but it's
For sure
based on another trick, and then there's
But you're all using.
Then it's like, what's the original part? Is it the presentation? Is it the script? Or is it the actual prop or the gimmick, the invisible thing? Magicians are the only ones who know how you did it or what you used. So that's kind of harder to state claim.
Well, that's what I'm confused about, because was there a time when someone says, I had the fake thumb? The fake thumb was me.
Yeah.
When does it become public domain for magicians to do what they will, and when is it a unique?
Well, here's
thing?
an example. Teller of Penn and Teller has a beautiful routine that he's done forever.
The Rose?
The Rose.
The Rose.
That he, even though it's a pantomime, there's no words spoken.
What does he do? Just you haven't heard it.
He's got there's a rose in a vase with a light that is basically projecting its silhouette onto a large screen behind him, a paper screen. So you've got this, it's maybe a 1.5 feet tall in real life, but on the screen it's like this beautiful 6 foot tall projection. And Teller's admiring the rose, and then he goes up to the shadow of it, and he takes out a knife, and to the shadow of the rose, he kind of nicks the base of it, and then a petal of the real rose falls. So it's kind of like, it's becomes this beautiful poetic metaphor for so many different things, but just the idea of
you could put any story.
You could put any story, and he doesn't. He lets you just
sure.
take. That's why I think it holds up so many times over the years. It's that every time I watch it, I kind of interpret it differently. So it's a beautiful performance piece. Eventually, all the petals fall, and you can see it on YouTube. It's got a cool dark ending to it. People have been trying to rip this trick off for years because what's special about it is the performance of it. I don't know how he makes the leaves fall off the rose, but I'm
You
sure
really don't know?
No, I've never even tried to dig into it. I'm sure because here's the thing. What would you think? That it's some interesting, crazy animatronic gadgetry that can drop a pedal at a time? Maybe.
Sure.
Is it much simpler than that? Maybe. Would I hope it's something very so basically you could do that trick. The method could mean many different things to accomplish that same effect. But what Teller does with that effect, this performance piece, is the beautiful, I think, trademarkable, or I guess in theater how playwright kind of mark of
I'm just surprised. I guess I
originality.
assume that you would see it and go, oh, the something method where. Like you would just like the same way if you saw any sleight of hand. I bet like there's a card trick I used to know that like it was a good card trick, and I feel like if I showed it to you, you would know right. You'd just be like, oh, I know the technique. I know what that was. But with this,
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know.
That's so cool.
I kind of like when I don't know.
Sure.
And but he's had a lot of people try to rip it off and market it. So I think it's one thing if another magician like tries to perform their own version of it, and then he gets wind of it, and then maybe it's a cease and desist or something, or the magic community. This goes with anything. The magic community kind of frowns upon, or at least the rumor mill goes.
But what about like bass, like the technique of he thought of a new way to use a invisible string to do do you ever invent like a new technique, or are you literally taking all the techniques that exist and just creating new tricks around it? Is there an inventor of a new?
Oh, there are great inventors, and I do occasionally stumble upon through trial and error a great technique that no one's ever done it like that before, right? And I feel like if you're using my technique to do a trick that is public domain, there's nothing I can do or say about it. That's cool.
Sure.
Just remember where you got it from, That's fun. Tell them whose idea that was. But if you are, like where it gets fishy is that you take a classic idea, let's just say the sawing a person in half trick, but you do it in a way that when people watch it, it's like, it's hilarious, it's layered, it's a metaphor for our political system, and it's like a 5-minute monologue. Like, it's like, oh, this is great.
Israel, Palestine.
Right. It's not the trick that's original, but it's like this performance of it. And I feel like that's where if somebody else tried to do my script on AGT, I think people would be like, yo.
Yeah,
but it's like, he's like, he could defend himself and just be like, I'm just doing the sawing in half trick. It's the oldest trick in magic. But it's like the way,
Sure.
It's the way you're doing it. So
who has more? Because you're in comedy and you see the stand-up world, at least, which is my world, and there's a lot of degrees of like who's respected, I mean, it's very fractured these days. We all have our own little camps now, but like, is magic even more? Is it like, oh, so and so is considered a hack, or so and so? Is it a bitchy community?
it is. It is.
Do you think it's bitchier than comedy?
I think where it the tall poppy aspect of it, where when anyone gets really successful, like, and lately, like, comedians are selling out arenas. Like, it's very easy to make a case that, like, it's crazy that so-and-so is that successful, like, just because it's out of jealousy or, rage or insecurity, and you'll be looking for things that they may be looking for proof that they didn't deserve it or they stole something, you know what I mean? Like, magicians, it's like in comedy, you've got the trove of the infinite ideas of things to riff about. In magic, if you are a magician, there's some trick and there's some magical effect involved, and there's more of a finite number of magical things that can happen. Stuff that can appear, it can disappear, it can levitate, it can teleport, it can change colors, it can, there's melt through another thing. Like and then, what is it a prediction? Did you know what I was going to say before I said it? You pull out a deck of cards, like instantly, like the numbers of things. So it is easy for magicians who might do, like when David Blaine first came out, his special, and everyone's talking about David Blaine. Magicians, including myself, and I was like maybe 14 at the time, were so like all pissed because we're like, this guy's got a special and he's doing the same tricks I'm doing. I do that trick.
Sure.
I can bite a quarter. I do that.
Yeah.
Ambitious.
It's like when a comedian, like, they talk about catcalling. There's sometimes you see, especially where you're like, ooh, I know 20 people who are going to be pissed that they told this twist.
Or it's like, like Matt Rife or any comedians who are very much skyrocketing, and people who aren't paying attention are kind of like, oh, where'd this guy come from? You know?
Yeah.
And they just there's this kind of jealousy where I clearly wasn't able to see what he was doing that was different, which was he's using the same tricks and making them miracles. They're not tricks the way he does them,
Yeah.
Like watch him do a trick, watch him do the same magical effect, and they think that they're witnessing the second coming of Jesus, or they run away. Like, I never had people like grown men run away because they think, like David Blaine, like he was this total thing, So it didn't matter what he did. And magicians, it takes them a little while to, like, we think the tricks are so important. But what's really important is what you do, what you have to say.
It's all about delivery too, because if I tried going on stage and saying like your stand-up routine, it's not
Paige,
going
I would
to
love
be.
it. I would love to see it.
It
Any
would be
day.
the
Feel
worst
free
thing
to
you've ever
steal
seen
it.
in your entire life.
I would fucking love it. How do you? I often get in arguments with anyone that comes on and talks about psychics or talks about anything. I went through my believer
skeptical?
phase. Yes, very skeptical. And then I watched. I have Flim Flam, the Amazing Randy book, and I found myself very frustrated with it all. What's your view on people who use? Let me just also say, I read a lot about. There was some camp where someone was bringing back dead people from the dead, and it was cheesecloth, I guess. And you can bundle it up, and they would take it out and pretend to be the husband. In this one particular camp, this psychic pretended to be these widows' husbands and had sex with them, and didn't get busted until an STD spread around the camp. I mean, so I look at all this stuff, and I'm like, this is, and I feel like Randy, the Amazing Randy, is like part of it was like.
I feel randy about it.
Yeah. But it was like, he's like, oh, I know how this is done. And
Yeah.
you're using it and you're lying to people. How do you feel about psychics, or when you see people using what you're using for a prank show, but they're actually tricking people out of Uri Geller? Recently there was an article about Uri Geller. I don't know if you're friends with him.
No, not friends.
So Uri
Read the
Geller,
article.
this article pissed me off. It was in the New York Times, and it was he basically professed that he could actually do this magic. He could make spoons bend, and he could do other tricks and whatnot, and build this big reputation. And this article in the New York Times talked about him being older now, and in a way, he's sort of like let go of this is all real. He kind of is a performer, and it is all. And I'm like, fuck you. That's not how you built it. You lied to people. And you use that to make people who don't have the brain to go to see to be skeptical. You made all your money, and now you're just gliding off. Fuck off.
But he still, I think, tries to have his cake and eat it too by still holding on to that is real. Like there is a special gift in this and this. It's like you have to kind of pick a side. Are you coming clean, or are you?
How do you look at it?
I mean, I'm from the Randy Penn and Teller POV. I think because honestly, just like coming up in magic, I was just so exposed to that anti-psychic, like Houdini used to debunk spiritualists and mediums.
Well, I brought up to this person, because they're always like, but what if? I'm like, Houdini, since you probably know, he had a number in his head, then he put that number in a safe, and he said to all the believers out there, he said, when I die, bring me back. I'll tell you the number. You can unlock the safe. There's all the proof you need.
Right.
And obviously, never happened.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't get as angry about it. Like because I want someone to be legit. Like I don't know about psychics necessarily, but I feel like I like the idea. Like I've never seen a ghost. I've never had hard proof that somebody is telling me things that could only be possible if they're talking to my relative over my shoulder or something. But
you want to know
I
why?
want,
in my
I want
opinion,
it to be,
because
it's not real.
It's not
it
real.
Can't happen. But
really, you still have you're not you're
like my sister and I went to a medium once after my
how
mom passed away.
you know how all these techniques work.
But
cold
I will
reading.
say, like she didn't. There's no magic. It was it's classic cold reading. It's classic.
Can you say what cold reading is for people from like a
Cold
real
reading is
authority?
essentially, just a psychological way of speaking and steering a conversation to emphasize the things you're saying that are correct or make sense, and devaluing the things that don't, and you're steering. So
To me, it's the cousin of crowd work.
so it's
I
like,
love
you
the
know,
similarities between the two.
You lost someone recently.
You go,
Not so recently. Does the letter
yeah,
M
not
have
so
something to do? M, and you're kind of looking for hit until it's like, yes, M, yes, okay, that's right. And you're covering your own mistakes just by the fact that obviously there's room for error. This is not an exact science, and it's very compelling. Like,
Have you ever done it?
I've not done cold reading. I feel like I mean, in magic, there are ways to create just use the way that you speak or the things that you do to do the same thing essentially, but
you
not
think-
with someone's manipulating someone's vulnerable self.
$1 million, you get a gig, and everyone's gonna forgive you for this. It can be for a show. You're gonna go up at a comedy club, sold out, and you're gonna say that you're a cold reader. Do you think you could pull it off? I think that's a fun that you should. I would love to see.
I mean, what a great improv game! Really, all it is, cold reading is, it's improv. It's yes-anding, yourself as you go, and you're kind of
Sure, but the other people don't know that
Right.
you're doing that.
I will say people really just want to. I mean, I'm a skeptical magician who knows it's all BS, and I still want to experience something real.
Me too.
Maybe even more than normal people.
I agree with that, but that's why I can't stand when it's something obvious. When it's obviously a scam or it's obviously it's.
Well, like I'm honest. I tell people. I mean, I'm a magician. Yeah, they're tricks. Like even a little kid when they come up, how do you do those powers? I don't say like I don't lean into like it's some Harry Potter stuff or wizard. It's like very clear practice. It's a trick. There's an illusion. There's something like I just feel like that's important to make that clear. People still don't believe it. People think that's exactly what you would have to say if you were a warlock. Like I did a bit where it was inspired by Randy, who would do psychic surgery. Which is where he has somebody who was claiming an ailment. This is like I think I don't even know the part of the country, so I probably don't want to. I think in South America, there's an ancient technique of making it look like you're removing the harmful toxins from the body. You're
Oprah
removing
would
the
have publicized
cancer.
and said, "This is a miracle."
Yeah.
Like,
and it's
skin
sleight of
cleared up.
hand. It's sleight of hand. It's palming. Palming in.
Chicken innards.
Chicken innards, and it looks like. Oh my God! It looks like it's coming out of their stomach.
Yeah.
And then often Andy Kaufman, I think.
Andy Kaufman,
went to do
they did it in the movie where Jim Carrey was him, where like he was ill, and rather than get all the necessary medical treatments, he went to this place and they took out another animal's guts out of their hand.
And
he
there's
said, "Great."
placebo effect, to this in a sense, but that's
Sure,
all
sure.
it is. So, but these people are raking in money, and Randy would expose this on the Tonight Show. So I wanted to do a new version where it's me removing people's NSA chips.
Oh, that's so smart.
Like people, everyone's like, "Oh, you've been chipped,"
That's
or
so
"Don't
smart.
get vaxxed." Now, this was like years ago. This was we did this in season 1 of Magic for Humans. So this was-
Pre-COVID?
Oh yeah, pre-COVID. It's probably
God,
shot in
because
2017.
that video would go viral and people would say it's real.
Yeah.
And it would be a disaster.
I'm just spouting conspiracy theories, but we got the trick looking so good where it really looks like you see this big old chip come out of their skin. And I'm using a penis pump as the removal device. Like it's. I thought I was making it clear that this is ridiculous, and I get messages. No joke. I mean, I probably have one here once a week.
Yeah, hold up, I want
from
to
people
know it.
wanting my help removing their chips, where they swear they've been chipped. I got a really good one here,
Oh my God.
and
That's the problem. That's
yeah, I feel bad. I mean, I want to tell them
why.
it's not real.
That whole bit was incredible because like you pulled people into a van just like off the street, and it makes it in such a way like don't follow a stranger into a van, and then this whole crazy like medical setup in there with the NSA chip getting pulled out. It's
if you
amazing.
did that postcode, people would. I mean, they would believe it. I always think like the reason I think I get frustrated about psychics and astrology, for example, is I go like, we live in a world where all anyone fucking talks about is disinformation. And they talk about how with the vaccine, the whole thing was like, well, how do we fucking function as a society when people believe in things? And so when I see a bunch of fucking my liberal friends who were going, get the vaccine, you're a fucking idiot if you don't get the vaccine. And then where are they getting their marching orders from? The moon. And I go, like, you cannot tell people to follow the science if you're following Mars. To me, they do not match as the world that you're trying to live in. What's the message?
Just subject line, microchip.
Am I reading this?
Yeah, go for it.
Hello, sir. I seriously got illegally injected with a microchip. How much would you charge to remove? I only have one microchip.
But he's attached photos.
What?
What are the photos of?
From X-rays.
What?
Where he thinks that's what's in him. I think he's just trying to show me like that's the
okay.
shape.
Okay.
Can you show the photo of
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Oh yeah.
There, that.
So here,
Oh.
I don't know what part of his body this is, but there's something there that he thinks is a chip. But it's very earnest, and
Whoa.
So how
I
much did you
charged him
charge
10
him?
grand. Come on.
But that's what people do.
The
That's what
strike was
people
happening.
do.
No, that's exactly what people do. You know, and then like even like with mediums, you know, it's kind of like.
But that's why that's why it feels like it's honestly something that like I have to like let go of on the podcast, because every time someone says you're a Leo, I knew it, like go into a 30-minute diatribe. But that's why I think like Randy, it felt like when people get really charged about it, I don't know why Randy felt so, the amazing Randy, I keep saying like Randy, like old Randy. You remember I saw him at the funeral, but he was mad. He came off like he was mad. Mm-hmm. He said there are liars and they are lying to people actively. Not only are they profiting from it, but they are misleading people into thinking the world is different than it is. And it made him angry. And I have a little bit of that sense.
Now, do you think, you know, he just found his identity, he found his sweet spot? Like, was it running as rampant is it as big of a problem as Randy was saying it was, or did you not even know it existed?
But astrology is, it's in sections of newspapers, and it's not a problem until, President Reagan's wife had an astrologist who would she'd say to Reagan, like, I think you should bomb there instead of there. Like these, sometimes it's as A to B as that, but overall, I think when things like the vaccine happen or big questions happen, and as we deal with AI generated art that starts to be indiscernible from reality, there's a world that is not skeptical enough. And I think in the history of humanity, skepticism is what should be taught at schools, because we ultimately deal with adults who are constantly being misinformed or not questioning. And it's just about that point of view, approaching everything with skepticism, that I feel like magicians have, because they literally have to prey on people sometimes who actually you're performing for some people who go, wow, what an amazing technician. I have no idea how that's done. Incredible. And some people who go like, that's a magic person. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It bothers me, and I feel like people get frustrated all the time about people politically or with the vaccine or with the microchip, like falling for things. And I go, you are actively falling for things too. You are in no place to actually judge. And luck, it's fine. They go, well, astrology, it's cutesy. I'm like, but that leads to other places. That's my opinion.
I mean, misinformation. I mean, if Randy was still alive, you know, like I would say, it's just now there's so many in that same vein. There's so many bigger fish to fry just in the war on misinformation. It's like
it was nice when it was about
it's
spoon
like
spending.
when even if I tell you yeah, those seems like the good old days where it was just an exchange of money, but now it's kind of it's an exchange of truth, and it's changing our world. You know, that's where it's a little scary.
With all the you have all these projects where you have to like you're not just doing magic, but you're also like thinking of the TV show and the script. Do you feel like you're at the height of your magic like I could be a good stand-up comedian, and then I could have a TV show, and it's like I'm making a great TV show, but I'm like, ooh, I'm not the greatest comic I could be. Do you ever look at like magicians who just stayed on the road or who just did card tricks, and you go, oh, I made an exchange of making these creative things, but I could have been even stronger at sleight of hand? Or do you feel like you're in as good magic shape? Like, I don't know how it is with magicians, just like how you view it. Like, I know what it is when I'm on the best shape for being in the one craft of stand-up comedy. What is it like for you? Do you ever look at a magician who never made the TV show and go, wow, they are so good at the fucking raw craft of it?
Yeah.
Or are you at the height of your powers?
Well, I mean, I very clearly, I think, chose my lane, which was not to be like, this finger-flinging sleight of hand magician, like people like Shin Lim, Shin Lim, he won AGT, with just incredible sleight of hand technique and can do bonkers stuff. And you're like, I can't believe this is not a special effect. It's happening live. Like that, I love those types of magic. And I feel like when you go to the magic house, you sit in a close-up room, when you're in the hands of a sleight of hand, maestro, and it's so cool to see. I found like stand-up comedy magic to be my sweet spot in that I can do tricks that are, they're not as technically demanding. They're more technical performance demanding. Obviously you need to not look like you're doing something. You need to be good and competent and confident. I've been doing it long enough in all types of magic and all types of venues to feel like I can, and also for the TV show, oftentimes we'll invent a trick and I will have to learn it and master it in a matter of 2 or 3 days versus like, I'd like to do it for 6 months before I immortalize it on television, but you don't have that luxury. So I've gotten good at getting it quick, for a bit or whatever. But I could definitely like my new, like I wish I had the time to kind of like learn a couple new tricks a week and always have something on me to be fiddling with, what I mean? Like because of the many hats we wear, the magic hat sometimes maybe gets like, I'm good there. Let's work on writing. Let's work on like, like developing. Like for me, like I'm at this point where my tricks either need to get, my venues aren't going to get any bigger if maybe the show doesn't get a little bigger. You know what I mean? Like I use live cameras and stuff when I tour, and so you can kind of, a 2,000 seat theater, like. Even with the screens, I feel like the people in the back, that you about to maxed it out unless you're doing something bigger, larger than life, Like, and I'm not a Copperfield kind of guy, in terms of like big scale, crazy things. So it's like, do I get into that territory of like, of course, Ed Sheeran's just a guy on a guitar and he's playing stadiums. So it's like, you kind of
you
start
want
thinking,
to, or is it
well,
like,
then
you have a team and it's like you have
it's
the crew.
like I love how like it's me and my crew of 2 and we check our bags and we rent a car. Like it's pretty streamlined, like, to play a.
That's why I like stand-up. I think ultimately I did theater and like, or sketch comedy, and it's like props and costumes, and I'm like, I just love that I can fucking walk up there.
Right. But I think I wish
works.
I had a new, like I haven't had the time to write new live material as with the frequency that I like, so that I feel like the show is it's kind of like in its pocket right now. I got it. It's great, but I miss having 2 or 3 new things in the show that I'm super nervous about and obsessing about for the hour beforehand. Like I just love feeding a fresh log on the fire, and I feel like I haven't maybe done that.
Is there you ever have a new trick or something you're working on where it just fucking went wrong? I mean, to the degree of like the fake thumb fell off the hand and it went into the...
Yeah, I had this idea to do a bit where I have like, what was it? A giant ball of yarn that goes into the audience, and I throw it out to one person, and I'm like, give me a type of animal, for example. Okay, great. Throw the ball to somebody else. Name a type of candy or something. Throw the thing to somebody else. Give me any playing card, whatever. And then we unroll that ball of yarn, and inside is let's say they said a cat, like a stuffed cat, and inside that cat is a Kit Kat bar, and so the Kit Kat bar is their card. I can't remember what it was, but like a 3, 1, 2, 3 prediction reveal. And I was going to open the show with it. And there's a magic technique sometimes where you have to do a little show before the show to prime certain people to, like, for example, like if I were to go up in a 2,000 seat theater and be like, "Sir, here, pick a card, please."
Yeah.
That would versus I had him pick a card ahead of time, right? So when I say name a card, just think of the card that you picked. So he's kind of like, okay, well, you don't know what it is. Okay, I'm going to sit 7 times. I'm going to remember that.
I see.
So, it's a little show before the show, right?
Yeah.
It's a magic technique. Maybe I'm saying too much. Maybe I'm about to get kicked out of the union. But the idea is that I was so cocky thinking I could do 3 of those at once, and none of them worked. I did this at Tempe Improv. It was like the first tour date. So this ball of yarn goes in the audience, name any animal. And I thought it was the person. She's like, octopus. Cool.
Oh,
How about any land animal?
Oh.
Is this the right? Okay. Right. Do you have any pets? Okay. Neighbors? Just how do we get to a cat? I'm caught, and then it's like fail. And I think one of them maybe worked enough that I thought, I'm going to unroll this ball of yarn, which once I did it on stage, I realized it took so much longer than I thought. So it's like, I definitely don't have shtick to cover 3 minutes of unraveling yarn. And then it was a weird, that only happened once. Sometimes you can tell like something's got promise.
So one thing was right? One thing was right at the end?
3.
And you played it off like, oh, didn't get that one.
Uh-huh.
Whoa, look at that.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. I wish I could just see your face when they said octopus, and you went, no, something with a C.
I luckily like doing it long enough that I kind of can laugh about those moments, or at least know that I don't need to be afraid of, like, I can always spin something so it doesn't feel like it's as much of a failure to the audience as I know it is. But even if it was a total failure, I know, well, all right, let's get into gear. I've got to hit everything else from this point on, and I know they'll forget about that.
Yeah.
You put a new bit between, you kind of
I know.
softball a new bit between 2 workers, and eventually.
I try to remember sometimes because on stage I can go like, wow, I've in a crowd work thing like, oh, I missed that joke, and sometimes I'm like, I know when it does. I know if I keep it confident, they don't know that that was a miss.
Right.
And it's just that illusion. And I have to fight it on stage with just that feeling of like, I'm failing. You just fake it.
Well, often corporates, I'll do a corporate gig and you're thrown off, man, because, you might have just gotten off tour, you're performing for your fans and everything's hitting, even the subtle things. And then you're like, is my mic even on? Like these people, like they didn't know you. So they're on board, but they definitely aren't picking up on your subtle comedic tone, like in certain places, and it's brutal.
So before we go into our next segment, this has got to stop. So this is more about the question. Obviously, everyone who meets you wants to say, can you do a trick?
Mm-hmm.
Does it bother you? Do you get exhausted by it? Do you go, God damn it? Or are you like, I have a quick one that's easy to do? I'm asking in the meta way first before I literally ask it or not ask it.
No,
depending on
this
how
is an
you
interesting
feel.
thing because I know that people, even if it's not even spoken ahead of time, like, hey, you do a trick, I know that people always want to see magic. Now, I know it's different, if I was going on like KTLA to do a 3-minute segment, I know it's pretty clear I'm going to do magic, right?
Yeah.
But for a long form conversation like this, it's kind of knowing that there's the expectation for a trick sometimes will keep me in my head and not let me be as in the moment for a conversation. Like in real life, if like an Uber driver's like, oh, here, I'm at a red light, do a trick. Like it's just like like a jarring switch from my real life, to get on, I'd prefer that I'm like, well, come see a show, or I'm sure you're like, say something funny, it's like,
for me, they'll say a joke and I go, it won't. I've made the mistake before. It's awkward because I have to say, no, it won't work because that's my thing is I'm like, it will not work in this setting. If I tell you one of my jokes, it'll be uncomfortable. I'll say it. You won't laugh and it'll be weird. And I used to make the mistake. I once was in a line at some club in LA, and there was like a girl, and it felt like we were flirting in line. And she was like, "Say a joke." I was like, "No." And she was like, "Say a joke now." And then finally, like 15 minutes in line, I was like, "Okay." And I told my best opener at the time, and it was just like,
Yeah.
and then turned away, and it was over. And I was like, but it's awkward because they're insistent.
Yeah. So that said, it's like also sometimes like I feel like I had a period where I would get uncomfortable with doing that strolling magic, that I described, where it feels like I'm such like a dancing monkey, like I like doing a show on stage. I'm on the mic. I get to kind of curate this thing. Magic for Humans obviously is differently. I'm out in the world, but it's like it's for the cameras. It's for them. But so I do have a a trick that I can. This is an audible trick that your listeners could appreciate, participate in, and then potentially re-listen to once or twice and understand how to perform it as well.
Let's start recording the audio.
Yeah, perfect. This has just been pantomime. This has all been a teller.
We dub it
play.
over. It's very fun.
But this you probably heard. This one holds up. I always love this one. Think of a number, and nobody say it out loud, but do this in your head. Think of a number from 1 to 10. Got a number? Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, both of you do it. Don't say it though. Everybody listening, think of a number from 1 to 10. Just keep it quiet in your head. Now multiply that number by 9.
I can't do math
Yeah.
in my head like that.
Multiply by 9. I'll take a moment. Yeah. So now you probably have a 2-digit number, likely. Add those 2 digits together. So if your number was 11, you'd add 1 plus 1. So now you have a new number. Yeah. Now subtract 5 from this number. So you have a new number. And take this new number and correspond it to a letter in the alphabet. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. And now take this letter in the alphabet and think of a country that starts with that letter. Mm-hmm. Now, you got a country?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Now think of the second letter of that country and think of an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's there's no elephants in Denmark.
I think I did it wrong.
Now,
Yeah, no.
now I don't know, your brain was, I could tell you were potentially doing what I asked and then trying to see what would happen if I also would have done this and would have done that and would have done that. So that's I remember having my mind
I went
blown so
elephant,
hard.
and I said elephant is what everyone going to say, and then I went eel right after.
Oh,
but
so
it
you're
was
an eel
elephant.
in Denmark.
It was Denmark, and my first thought with Denmark was, "Is Denmark a country?" I forget. And then, but then the next it was elephant was
Where
first.
were you, Ostrich, Dominican Republic?
I have
You weren't even a D.
My brain is not working today.
Paige was like Maryland, anteater.
There's like Canada and like anteater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, but I
Then
totally
you did it wrong. That's
But Denmark for sure.
Yeah.
Denmark
No,
for sure.
That's one of those things that I just Max Maven, who's a brilliant magician who passed away within the past year, but he was a mentalist, and I just love that bit. I remember learning that as a kid. I was like, I could do that on a deserted island once until they're on to me. But yeah, there's one. Listeners, you can steal that script, and hopefully your hit rate will be better than mine was at this table.
Most people aren't as skeptical as me.
Yeah.
No, I like that. All right, so this has got to stop. This is our segment. Normally have a
yeah.
music cue. One day we'll
One
have them
day.
here. We don't have them here.
Well, the music cue's got to stop. Actually, that's why they're not here. Mm-hmm.
What's something that's got to stop? It can be magic. It can be personal. Anything.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Well, how about the Zoom small talk? It's like, well, everyone knows why you're on a Zoom. We're here to discuss this thing, but there's the couple minutes of, even when everyone's there. Yeah, okay? Yeah, Halloween. What are you guys gonna be for Halloween? I like small talk sometimes in person, but man, it's cringy on Zoom. I want to get right into it.
Yeah.
So that's got to stop.
And then there's a feeling of like, if there's 6 boxes, it's like, let's 1 box at a time. Everyone do their show and tell of what you're up to today.
Mm-hmm. And then you're thinking like, oh, I better say something good.
And Zoom's not fun. It's like, let's do what we need to do here so we can meet with people in flesh
This
and
could
blood.
have been an email. Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's a good one.
Just one, or are we going around? Because
Oh, go ahead. I'd
got
rather
another
you do
one.
more.
I'm curious
Please.
what you thought about if this has to stop. Cell phone towers that they try to make us think look like a tree. Like, they are more distracting to me and more like, what the hell is that? Like in California, you know, there's palm tree ones and there's evergreen tree ones, but they don't either make them look more like a tree, like, but they're obviously cell phone towers. And
Not
then I
fooling
get,
anyone.
I mean, I get it.
I haven't seen these yet because I'm in New York, but I'll be on the lookout
Have you
now.
seen these?
Of course.
Maybe
yeah.
I have seen them and I thought they were
Maybe.
trees.
I'm sure there's some over Mulholland or over Laurel, but
I mean, are they? So they're brown and then green wires, or do they add a little fake leaf?
they do. I mean, some of them, they really must go all out because it looks like a giant palm tree, but then it looks like it's also like it's made of metal and painted, and it's got the cell phone tower stuff doesn't change shape. They just put a tree. They put a tree on it.
And you'd rather have it just be like, that's a cell phone tower.
I mean, or just get better at making them look like trees or something. I get it. It's ugly to look at a cell phone tower when you're driving up to Big Bear or something. So it's nice. A casual glance if it blends in. You know what? Maybe I'm talking myself into it now. Maybe now I'm. Is that what happens with this often?
Yeah. I mean,
You start to vent and then you're like, oh.
Or just make it look like a stat. Like I get the thing of like, you're not fooling me. Either make it. You could do some other decoration or make it look like a. But I understand what you're saying. Where it's like, okay.
Yeah,
we know what it is.
It's something. I mean, either nail it or don't try at all.
Paige, do you have This Has Got to Stop?
This has got to stop. People have to stop treating public spaces like they're at home. And I mean this when somebody's at a movie theater and there's the reclining chairs and then like they bring a blanket in, they bring a whole meal in, they kick off their shoes, their stinky feet are sticking out.
Bare feet?
Bare feet,
Is
yeah.
socks okay?
That's like debatable.
Let me tell you something. I'm going on these airplanes. I'm on airplanes a lot. If I'm wearing socks and sandals, those sandals are coming off. I'm on this plane for 6 hours. I can't.
I feel like there's, levels to this.
Don't back down. You could. I can be the problem.
No, but
You're right.
If you have good hygiene, sure. If you're not stinking up the plane, by all means.
Is this often movie theater? Like you mentioned movie theater specifically, like
Yeah.
iPick, right? The fancy ones where everybody reclines.
Yes, I'm an AMC Stubs member, so I go to a lot of movies. And I think between that and also just live shows where people like go to comedy shows and it's just like either they're just like they're kind of like occupying space and like not really engaging with the show at all. It's like you could have just watched somebody's like stand-up material at home.
Sure.
Like that would have been a better experience for you.
Okay, that's
but
fair.
you're here and like making either the person on stage uncomfortable or making the other people around you uncomfortable by just simply like pretending like you're at home.
People put feet on the stage all
Really?
the time.
That's
and
gross.
Nico White, a comedian in New York, he just goes in the middle of a bit, get your feet off the stage. And I mean, Nico has he has the confidence of confrontation. He has no fear of confrontation. I can never do it. And especially on stage, I'm like, if I do that, the audience will go, what a dick. But Nico does it like, and I've heard him say it 100 times, get your feet off the stage, like so quick.
And I bet he only has to say it once because I bet nobody else puts that foot on the stage.
No one does. And he says it, Nico White has an ability to speak with a confidence. You go, yes, sir. And he's younger than me. He's way younger than me. And you want to say, yes, sir, when he says something. Whew. All right, This Has Got to Stop. That was a good one. This Got to Stop. I changed banks, closed a bank account. This got to stop. When I'm leaving your bank or I'm leaving your airline or something and I'm canceling an account and I have to do it over the phone, which you made me do so that I would push it off so you could get your monthly fee for a couple more months. And then when I leave and you have someone say, we're sorry to see you go. Shut the fuck up. You're not. Stop. Don't try because it works. There is something in me that goes, oh, I hurt Bank of America's feelings. And I hate that you, on the way out, you made me feel some kind of shame. Fuck you, Bank of America. You did nothing to deserve my service. And on top of that, it's the inverse. Thank you for your loyalty. You don't have my loyalty. I will leave the second something is more convenient. How dare you try to get in there, get into my heart. Thank you for your loyalty. Delta, I'll leave the second I feel like another airline goes to the place I need to go. I'm not loyal to you.
I wonder if they have like a psychologist on staff who's writing the scripts for these cancellation
Oh yeah.
scripts, or
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
sure, right?
I know. It's the same way with the hold music. They know that they could have no hold music, so I could listen to a podcast for the 30-minute wait. They keep it on. And the fact that someone hasn't interceded, hasn't burned down all the buildings. I mean, I don't know how it's going to change. I don't know what's going to change. But when they play that awful hold music and it loops every 4 seconds or 8 seconds, and I can't like watch a TV show or listen to a podcast so I wait for an hour, 15 minutes, I know why they're doing it. They contacted someone who ran fucking Abu Ghraib, some fucked up shit. I know it. That's where they go. They go from Abu Ghraib to the Bank of America call center. Fuck you guys.
You know what I hate is when sometimes there's just a little skip in the hold music song, and you're like, it just looped, and it's like either make it a flawless loop, or get
It's on purpose. It's on purpose.
Yeah.
It's on purpose. Finally, you better count your blessing. We've had a good negative episode here. Justin, do you have a blessing, something you're thankful for?
A blessing. I had to write one down.
Paige, do you have one?
Keep it in my
Any
head.
looks?
Yeah. My mom, I'm very thankful for my mom. She just finished her treatments of chemo and radiation, and now
Oh,
she's
yeah.
on antibody treatments for another, I think, 6 months or so. So she handled the whole like cancer treatment process with such grace and resilience in a way that I hadn't seen her, behave before, or like.
You thought it was going to be like more like of a struggle?
She was very like transparent throughout the whole process about like how she was feeling, and just being more vulnerable, and in a way that she hadn't revealed herself to me before. Traditionally somebody who's very like guarded and like I'm a tough person, and
Yeah.
really thick skin, but this whole like, as sad as it was, or as scary as it was a whole thing that allowed me to be closer to her. So, and I'm obviously thankful that all the treatments worked, and that she's looking good. So yeah,
That's so great.
That's a great one.
That's so
That
great, because
fucking
some people
topic
deal with
just-
the opposite, where it's like there's like an isolation where they're too proud, or they don't want to
Yeah,
let you know they're scared, and man,
Exactly.
you're lucky. That's great.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll
those,
let you know when I'm scared. Get ready for a phone call.
You know those inflatable things in used car lots?
Uh-huh.
I'm so grateful that those have escaped just the used car lots, and now they're ubiquitous. They make me smile, even outside of a dry cleaners. At first, I maybe felt a little like misled, because it does seem like when you see that, it means there's a party going on.
Uh-huh.
So, and then it turns out, it's just a T-Mobile store opening.
Yeah.
But they just make me happy. They're great. I want one.
Get one.
I don't know why I haven't bought one yet. I'm grateful for Amazon.com, who could probably get me one tomorrow.
Sure, but you
So
got to.
maybe I will.
Are you going to get a big one?
Here's the problem: is that I probably would get. I would get a portable one, because it has to be a write-off for my act. I got to be able to try. I got to put that
Sure.
on stage somehow. You know
Yeah,
what I
make a
mean?
trick out of it. I mean, you must see things sometimes. You're like, ooh, how do I make a trick out of
That's
that?
all I'm doing all the time.
Yeah.
That's how my brain works. What's the trick with that? What's the thing that no one's ever done with that?
Yeah.
So, inflatable guy. But
That's
then if
fun.
it doesn't work out, they say it's free returns, but you have to cover the shipping to get that big old piece of crap back to them.
Uh-huh.
And that often is a couple $100.
This has got to stop.
This has got to stop.
My blessing, my beautiful sisters. I have 4 siblings, but 2 live here. Victoria and Katie. We watched this show. I talked first. I got my sister. She picked me up from the airport. I know I only have a couple of these left in each of them, but she picked me up. Katie, she's a dancer. She just toured with Carol G. And I got to catch up with her. Then Victoria works at Celine, helped me go shopping for a photo shoot. So I got each of them individually. It was like a really perfect family day. I got each of them individually. We caught up, and then we all had dinner together and just looked at uncircumcised cocks. and they talked about getting a tattoo as a family. They're my half siblings, and they're sometimes, because I'm the comedian, but I go like, oh, they're very funny too. And we all got whatever. I don't know how we got a sense of humor from my mom, but we got something that, and we're talking about a tattoo, and Victoria said, what if we got one of my mom being Eiffel Towered by both our respective fathers? And I laughed so hard at the idea of that tattoo. And I love you very much, Katie and Victoria. Victoria, you're not listening to that. Or maybe they do. I think they even listen to my podcast, and that is a sign of love.
This far into the podcast, you think they're still listening? That is love.
I think especially since they know it's the LA one, they're like, if it's not fucking me for those blessings, airport pickup and clothes shopping.
Yeah.
Wow. So Justin, where can people find you?
Justin Willman is my Instagram. That's my name, and you look it up, you'll find me. Willman, Justin Willman. People often think it's Williams. Now I know I'm sure people mess up your name a lot. I'm sure.
Gianmarco recently messed up my name.
I mispronounced it for the last 3 years.
Beginning of this episode is when I heard both of your names pronounced correctly for the first time.
Yeah.
But when you've got an easy name like me, this has got to stop. Quit mispronouncing it. So it's not, Justin Willman.
Justin Willman.
Yeah, I'm in a venting mood now. And I'm on tour.
Hell yeah.
Always, but especially now.
This episode comes out November 7th. Are any specific shows you want to plug?
Yeah, I'll be in Salt Lake City this weekend, or coming up. Shortly after when you're listening to this. Seattle, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, Scranton. I could go on. Red Bank.
That's your brain is clearly better than mine. The quickness with which you got the date.
Well, my head goes to my iCal. So I see you said November 7th, and I'm thinking my iCal. Okay, I've got 3 shows in a row. Those are the S's. Seattle, Salt Lake, San Francisco. I remember that. And then I know that I need to sell tickets in Scranton. A little short in Scranton. And then, and then a whole bunch next year.
I want to see our show very badly, so if I'm ever around, I will.
And then this
come
new
and see
prank
our
show's
show.
coming out soon.
Yeah,
so
when's that?
When does that come out?
I don't know yet. We're still.
Do you have a
it's
name?
been a long road. Magic Prank Show.
Magic Prank Show.
Love
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Paige.
Where can we
Everyone,
find
I
you?
mean, people can see you. Paige doesn't want people to follow her on Instagram, but if you go to the Downside Pod,
Yes.
that is Paige running that.
Yes.
And just so everyone knows, when the Downside Pod likes one of my comments, no, it's not me liking the comment from my alt account. It is a different person. Stop commenting that. I am not
Wait,
patting
really?
myself. Yeah, there was some argument I got in with someone, and they're like, look at this loser liking his own comment from his alt account. That is
funny.
Paige liking it.
That is
and Paige,
me.
I'd like you to comment underneath. This is not Gianmarco. This is Paige Asachika. And for me, you can find me fucking everywhere. I'm on tour. Find my Instagram. But most importantly, join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. Bonus episodes are live episodes. My special, The Rats Are in Me. I am... Oh, my God. What do I not have any shows this weekend, Paige? Oh, I was in Europe. I'm in Europe. So this is coming out. If you're in Amsterdam, it's sold out. You're in Paris... It might not be sold out. Please don't give me bed bugs. And the weekend after that, November 16th through the 19th, I will be in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and November 24th and 25th in Washington, D.C. at the D.C. Comedy Loft. Thanksgiving weekend. Check that out.
You know what you could do while you're in Paris?
What?
Just get an artist to do that rendering of your mom getting Eiffel Towered.
This is the downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside. You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
Tell him, Russell.
Subscribe to The Downside right now.
Where?
Down here. Or here. We don't know, but just do it.
Or also, what else could they do?
They can follow the Patreon. They can subscribe to the Patreon.
Ah,
no! Sorry.
Patreon.com/downside.
Too much pressure.